Good and welcome to another week of discussions where we talk about finance and what's happening in the economic and financial world. Peter, before that, I'm not sure if we want to touch on the Proteas, but unfortunately they did lose again in the semi-final, but we're not going to touch around that. We've got some more important issues, I would say. And I want to share with you a graph. And first of all, I'm glad to be back. I see you and Ruan had a good conversation last week. Hopefully not more insightful than when I was here. But let me share with you, just my screen. There's a graph I want to share because a lot of people are kind of feeling the pinch, and I'm not. They might feel that they are. Let me just. There we go. So I know it's tough economic times, and a lot of people feel that they don't have extra money to invest, and they are withdrawing from their investments. And it's interesting because you're not alone. So this is the last 23 years. I've been to a 91 conference about a month ago now, and this is the industry as a whole, not just with 91. So they look at all the investment platforms and they see the flows. So this is only the third time in 23 years of history that there was negative net flows. So net flows, that means there was more money taking out of the investment system than into the investment system. And I think there's lots of reasons for that. One being the interest rates that are so high, so people are more prone to leave their money in the bank. Also, people have less money to spend because now the interest rates are high, so they're paying more of them onto their bond, so they have less money to invest. This is the whole industry. So if you're feeling the pinch, you are not alone. We're seeing it the third time in the last 23 years that's the negative net flows. But we've seen also that after negative net flows, the markets tend to rise and to rise quite sharply. And that's why you want to stay in the market, PJ. This is definitely not the time to take your money out of the market, especially if you are in equities, both locally and offshore. When the markets are low, this is not the time to take your money out. And if you do have extra money, this is actually a very good time to put your money into the market. But this is just to show you as an industry as a whole, and if you are kind of feeling the pinch, you are not alone. We're seeing it in the industry in general that people are feeling the pressure and there's not a lot of money to invest currently.
Um, can you maybe put back up that chart? There's another interesting thing on that chart. It shows also, like, interesting this year, there was not a lot of inflows and outflows in different, let's say, asset classes. So they said, let's say you've got the income fund and income funds, and that's normally your more conservative funds, and you've got multi-asset. The multi-asset funds is when you combine money market, shares, bonds. So that's normally your pension fund money. Most of the money is in multi-asset funds. So you can see in this year, it's not quite different, but what's interesting in 2020, when we all know that was the COVID, and everything went down, the whole market, and you can see how people reacted. So the flows went out of the multi-asset, the more aggressive type of funds, into income funds. So they are like, oh crap, what's going to happen to the world? So I'd rather take my money out of the multi-asset funds and into the income funds. But we know the year after that, the market totally recovered. And interesting, you can see the flows did not follow. So all the people that went out of multi-asset into income funds, again, because of investor behavior, had a lot of negative or opportunity costs because they missed out on the big opportunities to gain from.
Yes, that's a very important point, BJ. And like I say, you should do exactly the opposite of what most people do. And like you say, now that the market year after 20, when the market is running, then people want to get in. And I know at the end of 2021, that was when the market was at a high. Then you had the most inflows, which is actually completely the wrong thing to do. But people then want to be, want to be in the market, but then it's actually too late. And now again, this is actually the best time to increase your equity exposure when the markets are low. But we know that investor sentiment does not work that way. But 100%, you're correct. Now is the time to take even more risk, not to de-risk, and not to take your money out of the market when the markets are down. That's 100% correct. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. What do you have? You said you wanted to talk about something about the census survey.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's always interesting. There's perception on what's let's say, going on a world or in your world, and you will say, okay, everyone's immigrating, everyone's leaving. So that's a lot of the time perception, but now we can see what's the actual stats. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see.
Yeah, so you can see this is the population of the census after 2022. We are on 62 million, so not 60 million anymore. It's on 62 million. You can see it went up 20% from 2011. Now, what's interesting, what's the province that gained the most people? And most people, if you talk to most of our clients or people you know, they'll say, okay, no, definitely the Western Cape. But you can see actually the province that gained the most people was Gauteng province and then the Western Cape. But you can see the big cities, urbanization is still pulling the most people. So most people are still moving to big cities, going from small towns. We know there's service delivery problems in small towns. So a lot of people is going to the big cities. So, and then what's also interesting, you can see, so where did that come from? We can see Gauteng took a lot of the people, and KwaZulu-Natal actually went a bit down. But you can see the Western Cape from 1996 that do experience a big growth, where they were like the sixth biggest province. They are now the third biggest province. You can see KwaZulu-Natal, they're now second, and Gauteng with 15.1 people it's got the most people. So where did the people come from? So that's also very interesting. And yeah, you can see, just want to see the migration pattern. So that's quite interesting. So you can see for Gauteng is the biggest region. You can see people come from the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, but you can see a lot of people from outside. So foreigners came to Gauteng. So that's why we see a lot of foreigners coming to Gauteng. We all know that live in Gauteng. There's a lot of Zimbabweans, people from Malawi now living in Gauteng. And then the Western Cape. So where did that flows come from? A bit of the Eastern Cape, bit of the Gauteng. We all know someone Gauteng that lives now in Cape Town, and then a small portion also from outside South Africa to Western Cape. So you can see while Gauteng was the biggest grower um, in the last 10 years, Western Cape also got a lot of people and a bit from Gauteng. So that's what I call semigration. So there is a people in South Africa that move to the coast, but it's interesting that Gauteng is still the biggest population wise of all the provinces. And just if you go according to language, home language, Zulu is the biggest, Xhosa is second, and then interesting Afrikaans is the third biggest. And English again for a home language is at 8.7%, but again, most people can talk
Sure.
English.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting, especially that last one on the languages. And respect to so Afrikaans, definitely more than 44 people talking Afrikaans, but even more than English. So that is quite interesting. And yeah, PJ, I think, and I was lucky enough to go to South America last week, and you also see the urbanization going to the biggest cities. There, we saw Sao Paulo in Brazil. It is a massive city. As far as you can see, there's just high-rise buildings. And even in Santiago in Chile, where it's a long stretch country, but even Santiago, the capital, is a massive city. And I think a lot bigger than our city. So you can also see there people are coming for job opportunities to the bigger cities. And that is where the growth is. And that is, yeah, in different sectors. So that you can see that throughout the world. And I think South Africa, with the chart you are showing, are definitely following suit. People are coming to the bigger cities for more job opportunities and quality of life.
Mm. No, I think in the end that's just going to happen, and South Africa is maybe got some unique challenges of service delivery. But overall, people want to live in a city, like I said, the opportunities you have, the healthcare you have. I talk to medical doctors that's clients of ours who say to get a specialist in the small towns is very difficult. So if you want the best healthcare, you want to stay in the big cities, not even province. You want to, Gauteng is a small province, so it doesn't really matter where you stay. But there's a lot of specialists there. But if you want to go to Polokwane, they say a lot of, even that, it's quite a big city, the specialists are also moving out. So that's interesting. So I think for healthcare, quality of life, things to do, but I think in the end, it's for economic opportunities.
Yeah, and I think as we can relate as financial advisors, there's definitely more opportunities when there's more people, and people tend to go where people go because that's where the communities are, and that's where you can sell your product to those specific communities. Yes, the world's gotten smaller, and you can use internet. We can use this platform to reach people all over the country, but you still want to be in those metros where there's economic activity, and there's more opportunity for people. So that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing, PJ. And yeah, let's see. This was a good, better week on the market. See, the market did end up, if you look at the week, in green. So I'm not sure if you want to end up at last point. Why would that be? Why did the market recover so well? And what can we kind of expect?
Yeah, so I think just on the market, the only word or the only stats that you have to look at is the US inflation stats. So that's just what happens. So because if inflation comes down in the United States, then they will stop hiking interest rates. And that's what happened this week. The inflation came down in the US. Now everyone's expecting, okay, the US, maybe the Federal Reserve, like our Reserve Bank, won't raise interest rates. We are at that, and that's good for South Africa as well because we just follow what the US does. So then we are at the peak, and now it can comes down. So we're looking forward. The market's always looking forward. We are at the peak, and now equity prices can rise, and that's very good for South African rand, South African bonds, South African equities, all equities, but especially because we are an emerging market. So just that inflation is like from 0.3% down have a massive, like a 6-7% in your portfolio's difference.
And you can just see the market is just looking for the little bit of a positive news. And whenever there's a little bit positive news, they will react. And that's why, once again, we say you need to be in the market because you don't know when that reaction is going to be. The little bit of positive news. Stay in the market. Definitely don't go out now. Ride the wave. Market goes through cycles, and we will hopefully see the market go
Yeah,
again.
yeah, just on that, we had a client that said because you get very good yields now on the income funds. Um, they said, why don't we just hide in income funds and then we see when the when interest rates come down, we move. But again, the market sees the future. So when you know it's coming down and when everything is safe, the market will already be 30% higher. So
Yeah.
you can't wait for that. That's why I have to stay in the market.
Like they say, time in the market is definitely better than timing the market because you won't be able to time the market. PJ, thank you very much and enjoy your weekend. Let's chat
Thanks,
next
you
week.
too.